What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ALLSMITH. I'm excited for today's episode. It's going to be a different one. It's going to be a different feeling, different vibe, and I'm excited to go through what I call HDR: heavy, deep, and real. There's some energy in the world. There's people going through different things. There's a lot of political volatility. There's health volatility. There's emotional volatility. I thought it was important in the midst of all of that chaos to simply press pause and explore some of the different things that were coming to mind. And I'm a huge believer that writing fills the gaps within our thinking. And so in some of my personal journaling practices, I wanted to share a brain dump publicly with all of you. So let's get into it. For most of my life, I've worn a productivity badge. It almost felt like a badge of honor. Self-reliance is everything. Get more done. Show up. Capacity, work ethic, drive. I've measured myself by how much I can carry, by how many rooms I could be in, and how many problems I could solve. And then it transitioned into how many people I could serve. For 35 years, it's been all gas and no brakes. And for a long time, it worked. And that creates the buy-in within the psychology of the human experience is, hey, we're doing this thing and it works, right? Entrepreneurship 101, find what works and then do more of it. But think about your iPhone. If you always are working, always answering emails, always doing social media, always content creating, always on the stock market, eventually the battery runs out. And so what I'm learning now is this: all gas eventually burns that engine. And a field that's never allowed to rest eventually stops producing. And I think it's something that a lot of people face, right? There's a guiltiness associated with rest. There's challenge in feeling this laziness when social media tells you to just keep going. Just keep showing up. Say yes, figure it out later. All these cliche lines that marinate us in hustle culture. And I can't help but pause and reflect on the famous story about the Mexican fisherman. We've alluded to it on some episodes, but I want to share the actual story with you all today. So there's a Mexican fisherman. And every morning he goes out and he goes fishing to provide enough fish to sell to the local town and provide for his family. But in this particular instance, a local businessman is visiting the village and noticed that the fisherman comes in early each day and catches enough fish to sell, just enough money to provide, and plenty of time to go home, take a nap midday, laugh with his kids, drink some wine with his friends, and have sex with his wife and hang out. And he lives this pretty beautiful life. The businessman then asks him why he doesn't fish an hour or two longer. He explains how the fisherman could scale his business, how he could buy more boats, hire more men, build a fisherman empire, retire one day, and eventually enjoy his life. The fisherman looks at him and says, "But that's exactly what I do right now." That story hits different when you've built your identity on output. When you're constantly thinking about the next thing, you're in pursuit. One of our favorite lines is stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. We talk about pursuing peak expression. They're beautiful constructs for most people whose default is comfort or whose default is lack of productivity. And so it's a great example of where most people lie on a scale, and pushing people a little bit more, and a gentle nudge in the right direction can be very helpful. But the truth is, the magic we're all searching for is usually found in the work that we're avoiding. I've said that one before, and every time I say it, it stands out. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. And for me, that work's rest. every time there's a little sliver of space, it's how do I fill that space? How do I get more done? How do I serve more clients? How do I make more money? How do I impact more people? Stillness, pausing long enough to feel what I'm carrying instead of just simply carrying more. I'll go at all costs to serve. I'll show up. I'll make it work. And I'll be there. But it comes at a cost. And that's something I want you guys to sit with right there. Like, what choices are you making that come at a cost? Is it lack of productivity? Is it too much productivity? Is it somewhere in the messy middle where the timing of each is a little bit off? Sit with that and explore that. Reflect on that. Don't just gloss it over and fill every single empty space with more work, with distraction on social media, distraction with vices or addictions or escapism. Actually sit with self, like a quiet 5 to 10 minutes, reflecting the true life that you desire. And I think the world does a very good job of masking it, right? They reward hustle. They praise enthusiasm. They applaud when you're available and when you can make it to every single event. It took me over 300 fucking episodes of this podcast to finally slow down and see it clearly. That burnout can be real. I mean, we see it firsthand with Chris Williamson. We see it in how Rich Roll takes a few weeks off every year. We see it with Jay Shetty. We see it with Joe Rogan. We see it with Candace Owens. Some of the best podcasters in the world, they got to take a step back. Because when you're in it, you can't necessarily zoom out and look at the totality of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the podcast space, and what's going on with them. And that change of scenery, I think, it leads to a change of energy. It leads to a change of audience. It leads to different foods, different smells, different perspective, which then sharpens the sword of the mind, sharpens the sword of your ability to communicate in a better fashion. And so that's another thing that I think is a huge takeaway in this intro is that change it up a little bit. Don't do the same thing every single day and call it a life. At that point, you're stuck in the rat race. You're on the hamster wheel. You're just spinning, trying to make enough money to pay the bills and make it to your pillow at night. And if that statement aligns with you, notice that. Don't beat yourself up. Simply notice. Take a step back and realize that what you're not changing, you are choosing. And that's what I'm realizing today. So today, this is me vulnerably slowing down, reflecting in real time, turning the contrast up, zooming in, and like I said, going HDR, heavy, deep, and real. And before we go any further, I truly want to ask you one simple question. What is the work that you were avoiding? Welcome to ALLSMITH. As we kick things off, guys, I told you this was a big brain dump, a big journal dump for me. It was honestly taking the pen to paper and thinking to myself, what's going well, what's not going well. I think that contrast is really helpful. Playing with little T-charts, thinking about the spaces where we're incredibly consistent, where we are truly making a difference, but then also noticing where are the junk miles. Where are we putting time, energy, and attention into things that maybe aren't as valuable or aren't as productive? And so I compiled 10 things that I thought were great lessons from over 300 episodes of ALLSMITH that I think will land for you guys. They're things that kind of smacked me in the face this morning and I had to sit with. I had to sit with the perception, the perspective, how it made me feel. Was it adding value or decreasing value to my operating system? And in exploring that, I was like, man, if this helped me feel a little bit lighter and add some value into the direction that I'm going to choose in my life, I was like, man, I want to share this with our ALLSMITH community and our ALLSMITH audience. So thank you guys for being here today. Let's kick it off. Number 1, your nervous system sets your ceiling. What is your nervous system? right? You have the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. That's, I've got to rush to this meeting. I've got to go lift that weight. I've got to sprint to make it to the bus. It's kind of a survival mechanism. And I think a lot of us live there. We wake up and we're like, oh my gosh, I need coffee. I got to make it to work in time. I got to get in traffic. I got to do this thing. It's really loud and noisy. But then you have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. Just slowing down, being with your breath, being able to enjoy an extra moment in your car or on the couch or in your bed before you wake up in the morning, being able to get deep rest. That one, I think, is one that's not talked about often because it's not romanticized. It's not necessarily like you receive tangible benefit from more rest, or at least to the human eye. Immediately, you're not getting paid to rest more. But if you don't charge the iPhone, it doesn't work. I know it's funny. I know it's cliche, but same thing for a human. Like, you have to make rest a major part of your day-to-day operations in order to be productive, right? Like, think about strength and conditioning. Muscles don't grow when you're training them. You're receiving stress. You're tearing muscle fiber. They grow at rest. But because it's not something that we get validation for, it's perceived as invaluable. It's perceived as, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or I'll rest when I'm dead. It's like famous gym culture memes that are thrown around. But if you're truly trying to optimize the human experience and live your best life in the 5 different buckets of faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun, rest needs to be a part of all of those things. And so something that I wrote down that came to mind is that a dysregulated nervous system turns small stress into overwhelm. You ever notice how in certain moments somebody cuts you off in traffic and you kind of take a deep breath? You're like, they're probably in a rush. They're probably having a bad day. It's not really a big deal. And then other days when you're running late, you didn't sleep well, your sleep's not been good, you had a frustrating conversation with a family member or with a colleague, all of a sudden it pisses you off just a little bit more. That little pebble in your shoe that's kind of been hanging out and you're like, I'll worry about it later. It's not a big deal. That's the worst thing that happens in my day. It's not a bad day, not a big deal. But then that whisper slowly becomes more and more of a shout. That's when those small things become big things, when our nervous system is dysregulated, when we're not allowing ourselves to rest. So we're not managing stress appropriately when we're trying to be in the hustle culture, in the fight or flight, in the 9 to 5, in the paying of the bills. And so notice that. And something that comes to mind as an easy way to manage your nervous system is simply your breath. And I think that's a biohacking sexy word right now, breath work. People are like, how do I do that? Well, I think it starts with simply noticing, right? We take roughly 20,000 breaths within a day. We notice probably 0 of them. So being able to notice the inhale, the exhale. And something that came to mind recently is the space between the inhale and the exhale, not just the tangible nature of, but what's the space in between? Are we able to notice the space between our thoughts? Or is it one thought leads to the next thought, leads to the next thought, and it's this ADD, information overload, speed up, talk really fast culture where everything feels like you're drinking from a fucking fire hose? That leads to what I describe as too many tabs are open. You're thinking about the bills, the business, your community, your personal life, your health, your fitness, all the things are happening all at once. And being able to simply go back to our breath, notice the volume, as I alluded to before, 20,000 plus breaths within a day. Notice if you're unable or able to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Notice if you're up in your chest and shoulders for those breaths, or if you're able to drop it down into your belly. Simply notice. Don't label it good or bad, high or low, left or right. Just simply notice. And that leads to an awareness factor. That awareness factor can lead to subtle upgrades. How often do we use our computers or our iPhones and go, hey, we're gonna have these updates. Would you like to do the updates now, or would you like to do the updates at night? And we're always like, we'll do it later. We'll do it at night. And then it goes 3, 4, 5 weeks and still asking us about the updates or upgrades. I think the body does that too in a different way. It taps you on the shoulder and it says, hey Bryce, hey so-and-so, like we've got an update. We ignore it. And that 3, 4, 5 weeks where we're getting pinged from our computer, from our phone, eventually it just does it automatically. Or we're just like, screw it. It's asked me so many times, like I'm going to bed anyway. Let's update the thing. But we should do that from our personal human operating system as well. Otherwise, we will jump into the rat race. We'll try to scale the business that's already providing us the things that we love and we appreciate in pursuit of what the world says is valuable, which is more money, sexy cars, more validation, stock market, bank account going bonkers. But we end up using our health in pursuit of wealth. Thinking later on we're buying ourselves time to be able to use that wealth to go travel and actually live. But then when that time comes, we're so burnt out, we're so tired from playing the game of capitalism or of business or of trying to just survive, that the travel doesn't happen. We can't walk up the stairs anymore. We can't do the sexy hike, or we simply just don't want to. And so it creates these limited boxes of, man, I wish I would have done that. And I'm telling you guys, regret is a lot heavier than the pain of suffering short term consistently over the course of time. So I ask you again to bring it full circle. What is the work that you're avoiding? Your body decides how high you're allowed to go before your mind ever gets a vote. So when you think about the nervous system, we think like, just decide, make the cognitive decision. But the mind actually gets convinced, for lack of a better term, by the body. It starts with action. How often have you guys been like, man, I don't want to do that thing, I'll just do it. And then you start and you build some momentum, you get a couple micro wins, and all of a sudden you're like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Starting sometimes is the hardest part, and it becomes this power of negotiation with self and realizing that if I can do said tasks and build out an operating system and habits that best serve my life, you can kind of highlight those. Hey, when I get up at this time, it's when I feel my best. When I hydrate before coffee, I feel significantly better. When I get natural sunlight in the morning, rather than just jumping to blue artificial light and jumping into emails, I feel better. When I don't just look at my phone first thing in the morning, I give myself the opportunity to use the restroom, brush my teeth, have a little bit of a 5 to 15 minute, at the very least, morning ritual that warms up the engine, warms up the headspace, warms up the operating system, rather than just having this false perception of reality that you can go 0 to 100 like that. And then what happens? We try to do that. We get away with it. We train our mind to think, what can I get away with? And then over the course of time, we don't really want to enroll anymore because we're like, man, I know what that feels like when I wake up. That's going to be expensive on my energy. That's going to be tough on my nervous system. I have anxiety for that phone call. I've got to go sit in traffic. And then inevitably, life becomes a lot more about tolerating misery and overcoming suffering than actually designing it the way you want in pursuit of peak expression. And what's so funny about that is like we've talked about all these cliche words, and I think you guys understand the word, you understand the direction I'm talking about, but you don't actually practice this. It's information that you're like sort of paying attention to. But I kind of want to pause right now in the conversation around what's it going to take for you to take action on the information that we just shared with you. What's it going to take for you to slow down. Because for most people, it takes a health diagnosis. It takes going broke. It takes going through a horrible breakup. It takes hitting your version of rock bottom to actually change. What you're not changing, you are choosing. Discipline without meaning becomes self-violence. In my opinion, discipline should feel like a devotion, not a sentence you're serving, not something that kind of tickles your fancy around, I am a disciplined person. I think discipline that's rooted in ego like that, it demands more and gives really nothing back because you're using it as an identity rather than a habit. I pause because I want you to sit with that. Like, are you actually disciplined, or do you say that you are disciplined? Do your words and do your actions align? Because if you're grinding without a true why, it's slowly going to erode your relationship with yourself. Yeah, I'm disciplined. I just go and I do the thing and I check the box. But what's the why? I was that guy for a long time. So if that's you, I'm not knocking you. I'm not creating a social hierarchy where I'm talking down to you by any means, because I was that for a long time. I didn't have fitness. Fitness had me. If I didn't work out, I felt like I was less of a man. If I didn't check the box on, giving my best effort or lifting my best weight or having my best time, I felt like I was less than. And I did all of those things in the pursuit of discipline. But then on the other side, I had fitness, but I didn't have great family. I didn't have great finances. I had zero fun because I sacrificed everything for the fitness. Zero relationship with my faith. And faith, I don't mean, it doesn't have to be a relationship with God. It could be your version of faith. It could be spirituality. It could be whatever it is for you. For me, it's a relationship with God. And I'm happy to discuss that on another episode. But in this particular instance, do you have the discipline, or does the discipline have you? Is it real where you practice it consistently? Or is it a word that floats and plays ping pong within your headspace that justifies you doing things because you don't really know the direction that you want to go? And most of us don't know the direction that we want to go because we don't self-examine. We don't do the hard conversation to get clear on truly designing your life. So when we think about ALLSMITH and lifestyle design, it starts with, as Simon Sinek would say, find your why. If you have a why, you can figure out any how. Because when you wake up in the morning, there's a pursuit, there's a passion, there's a drive that doesn't feel like fake discipline where you're putting on a mask in pursuit of something that doesn't light your heart on fire. And what I mean by that is that meaning turns effort into true devotion, not punishment. When you find your meaning and the discipline is in alignment with that meaning, when you wake up in the morning, it's not, oh my gosh, I have to. It's, whoa, I get to. The work is still hard, but the tools are lighter. Sustainable discipline feels aligned, not forced. And that's what I mean when we've referenced in the past, head, heart, and gut. Is your discipline creating alignment there? Or do your heart and your gut and your intuition, that little feeling, that little whisper that's kind of inside your body, is it saying, no, I want you to go do this thing, but you're like, no, my head needs this. I'm going to make more money doing that. That's more validated. That's the thing that's socially acceptable to the world. Why conform to that? Because it might give you a short-term win. It might give you the money that you want. It might give you certain things that are going to light your ego on fire, but it doesn't create true alignment. And something I've learned in these last 18 to 24 months, when you have true alignment of the head, the heart, and the soul or the gut, you operate at a different frequency. You're not chasing anymore. You're not trying to be somebody that you're not. You're showing up authentically, and you're truly enrolled as opposed to kind of being 1 foot in, 1 foot out, the words that you speak come off with a different frequency, a different tone, different vibration. People start to attract themselves to you because they're like, hey, what's the secret? How did you figure out this sort of aura about you? You're operating differently. You have a different beat to the rhythm at which you're living. The secret is finding the alignment with those three, which means sitting with self, figuring out your why, having your discipline be in alignment with what you really want versus what the world is trying to trick you into wanting, and being honest with yourself. And that honesty is not just like, okay, I'm honest, I just did the thing. No, it comes with hard conversations. It comes with a journaling practice. It comes with a meditative or a prayer practice. It comes with consistently eating the right foods, taking care of yourself, integrating your breath work. And at first, all of this stuff feels like a lot. It feels like, oh my gosh, one other influencer throwing out some biohacking bullshit that's going to lead into an hour morning routine before I can actually get to work. It doesn't have to look like that. You don't have to train 2 hours a day. You can microdose these things into your life where they just become non-negotiable habits. You can play with them in pursuit of doing something from point A to point B. You can simply notice your breath work. You can do it in the car. And what this does is it starts getting you to think differently, which means you might go through what Chris Williamson and Modern Wisdom talk about, the lonely chapter. We're like, whoa, when I thought I wanted all these things over here, I aligned with this tribe or this community. And now I'm realizing that like, I really like the way this tribe or this group thinks. And you're somewhere in the messy middle. We're like, whoa, I have the operating system of over here, but I know this is what I want. And I'm really misunderstood right here. I'm starting to separate from those relationships and I feel very misunderstood. But then when I try to get over here, I'm not really good enough yet to get there. And the secret is you are. You just have to create a better relationship with self. You have to better understand you. You have to unpack certain historical references from the past. You have to integrate what you think it will take to get to this next thing. Have the hard conversations with people that are within your circle of trust. Your family, your friends, certain coworkers, maybe a significant other. And think about, okay, if I want to get to that, how sharp do I need to make my sword? Who are the people that are over there? What are their habits? What are the things that they're reading? Who are the people that they're spending time with? What does their day-to-day look like? What does mine look like? And then go back to where I started this conversation. Make that T-chart. Compare and contrast and actually do it with pen and paper to create transparency so you can see what's potentially missing. Because if your goals disconnect you from joy, they're not going to last. And we see that every year. We're still in January 2026, guys. People think that having the best goal is going to get them to that goal. All of a sudden, oh, I'm better than somebody else because my goals are awesome. You know how many times I've sat in like goal circles and people have these big, hairy, audacious goals and they never make it. And you can make the argument, oh, at least they were in pursuit. If you reach for the sky, you'll fall amongst the stars. Like, yeah, there's great cliche things like that. But then I also call bullshit. What about having a low-hanging fruit first? What about having a real tangible goal of like, hey, in 3 months, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z thing. In my case, I'm like, hey, in 3 months, I want to know that I've slept at least 7 hours a night. For me, that's a phenomenal goal. Some people are like, I got that one, but do you really? Do you have a data tracker? Do you do it consistently? And is that something that's missing within your field? For me, that's something that's missing. I'm like, you know what? I need to make that a priority. Saying it out loud, taking ownership, taking accountability, and having a certain tone of like, when I do that, everything else in my life is better. So think to yourself, think about some of those goals. Maybe it's not about the huge thing that's at the top of the tree. Maybe it's starting a little smaller. Getting that micro win, or as Jordan Peterson would say, clean your room. You clean your room, you're probably going to clean your house. You're probably going to clean your apartment. All of a sudden, you're going to have clarity of mind. The body always rebels against empty ambition. And so if you have ambition and it's just towards something that's going to give you societal success, but it's not what you actually want, or it's out of survival, like, oh, if I just make the money, then I'll be a better man. If I just make the money, then I can book the trip. It's the ideology of like, I'll be ready when. It never works. It's a false perception of reality that creates procrastination. I hope some of this stuff is landing because it's stuff that hit me in the face early on. And I think a lot of these things are things that you guys can just take what you need and leave the rest. Grab some of these, toss them in your back pocket, and integrate them into your life. And then shoot me a DM on Instagram at @TheRealBryceSmith. Shoot it on our business channel at ALLSMITH Co. Engage with our stuff on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast. We have so many amazing guests that have shared all these things to me that I came in with very little of this knowledge. And after 300 episodes, I was like, whoa, there's some common threads that I want to pull a little deeper to share with all of you. So don't act like you have to have this figured out right now. Start small. Take a couple of these things and start microdosing them into your life. And then let's create dialogue around it. We are happy to help. We want to be here to co-pilot your journey. And that's why we have our ALLSMITH coaching. That's both mindset, that's fitness, that's lifestyle design, it's accountability. And also it's fun. It's something that we really like integrating the childlike mindset. And what I mean by that, just to make a little humor, like when kids are playing, they're not like, how fast did I throw that ball? Or, how fast did I run? It's like, no, they just want to play. They want to go to the park. They want to play on the swing. They want to climb certain things. And over the course of time, life trains those measurables. But that's not when they're really learning. That's when they're trying to validate or when they're trying to kind of form this expectation of this is what I'm going to be when I grow up. But when they're really young, one day they're a firefighter, the other day they're an astronaut, the next day they're a pro athlete, the next day they might want to be a dog, they might want to be some sort of doctor or lawyer. And it's just funny to throw that out there. The imagination of a child is so cool. What happens to us as adults? Where does that go? How do we maintain the mindset and the habit structure of the Mexican fisherman? Sit with that one. Play with it. This next one's so simple, but it's so profound. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Intensity creates moments. Consistency creates identity. Whoo! That's a big one. Intensity's rad. Does it have value? Is it something that most of us avoid? Absolutely. But it's because it's super hard. And when something's super hard, we're avoidant of it. So I want to share a little story. When I first got into cold plunge culture, and I could sit here and I could spit out the X's and O's and science of cold plunge. At the end of the day, it's hard. It gives me a win. And I like the way it sets my energy. I like the mood that it puts me in. And I like sharing it with friends. So is it good? Is it bad? Is it this temperature? Is it that temperature? Is it this time domain, that time domain? I don't know and I don't care. What I do care about is that it's adding value into people's lives. It's bringing people together and it's setting people's energy to go do cool shit in the world. Simple as that. But what I mean by that is in the beginning, I was like you. I was getting lost in the sauce. What's the temperature? What should I do? What's the protocol? What's Dr. Andrew Huberman saying? What's Peter Attia saying? What's Dr. Rhonda Patrick saying? Is it good for men? Is it good for women? All the questions were there. Too many tabs. Anxiety around the thing. And so the temperature was set at 38 degrees. And I used it once a week. And every time I go out there, I was like, man, me versus you, buddy. Here we go. And the amount of anxiety that I had at 38 degrees was, for me, too much. I realized I wasn't using it that much. It was this great, sexy tool that I was stoked to have and sort of shared sometimes. But I realized when I brought that thing up to about 45 to 48 degrees, I used it 4 times a week. The mood that I was in was just as good. I integrated my breath work. It wasn't as scary. More people were willing to come do it. And so over the course of time, yeah, we've microdosed it down in intensity as we've trained and as we practice, but The point that I'm making is you can't expect to run a 3-hour marathon just the first day you go to run. Allow yourself to go through that process. And more importantly, who I became in the consistent practice of cold plunging led to being a better man in so many different other arenas. It led to, oh, wow, the cold plunge was really uncomfortable. This next conversation that I'm going to have is going to be really uncomfortable. We're going to be talking about a billing issue or an uncomfortable conversation, or maybe one of us said something or emailed something. It was very difficult. But then what happened was the depth of relationships, because of the enrollment in the hard conversations, became better. And how many of us, look at ghosting culture today, how many of us avoid those hard conversations? And I don't agree with this next line in every way, shape, or form, but it's applicable here. How you do anything is how you do everything. Cliche thing. I push back on that quite a bit, but in this particular instance, like by doing the hard thing of the cold plunge, it's led to me doing harder things in my life. And so it's made relationships better, business better, my life better. And so I was like, you know what? That has to be one that's included in this list to deliver to people, because true love is honest truth. And that is 100% in alignment with, if you avoid the cold plunge, you're probably avoiding other things in your life that maybe you can't see right now. So think on that a little bit. Consistency trains patience and self-respect. And what I mean by that is, when we're goal setting, we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to make it to the gym 3 days a week. Like for the first 3 or 4 weeks, you do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got this meeting, or, oh, I'm not feeling that good today, or, oh, traffic's bad. Oh, it's rainy today. Oh, I've got to take my dog to the vet. Oh, life gets in the way. 3 days after about 4 or 5 weeks becomes 2 days. And then the communication, like, oh, I'd really love to make it to 3, but I just can't. Well, you could. Movement became a negotiable. It became an option. It became optional. As opposed to, my health is the root of everything that I do. But that doesn't set into the human experience until pain sets in, until you're like, I've gained all this weight. My health biomarkers are terrible. My blood pressure is bad. My knee or my hip or my shoulder are killing me. Oh, I can't walk up a set of stairs anymore without being out of breath. I couldn't complete that hike. I had to quit and go back because my heart rate was too high. Once again, when the whispers become shouts. I'll say it again. Consistency trains patience and self-respect. The self-respect is when your words and your actions align. But when they align consistently, not when, as Inky Johnson would say, true character is when what you said you were going to do and what you do align. Long after the feeling you were in when you said it has left. Feeling really good, have a couple drinks in your system, around a great tribe of people, and you're like, I'm committed, I'm going to do the thing. But then that feeling goes away. So now words and actions, once the feeling are gone, change. Is that real character? Is that you? I've been that person before. I get it. But I'm telling you this truth out of love, because if you can maintain the consistency of habit, even when the feeling goes away, even if that means your workout is 30% out of your 100% capacity, you still completed the habit. You still practice the art of neuroplasticity within your mind, and you're building the self-respect that what you say and what you do are in alignment. That gives you a different confidence to create that alignment of head, heart, and soul. Now, when you operate within a room, people are like, man, how do you have that confidence? I tell myself the truth. I don't make excuses. I take ownership and I take accountability. That can also be you. But it takes patience, right? If you're just obsessed with the outcome, why am I not losing this weight? Why am I not making this money? Why have I not found my person? Why have I not been able to buy the house? But then you look at the process of, am I saving the money? Am I showing up? Am I consistently putting in the work? Am I closet eating, or am I making good choices consistently? Or if I had a GoPro everywhere I went, I would be proud of the choices that I'm making. That's what a lot of us are. We're closet eaters. And it's not just about the food. We make choices behind the scenes that aren't in alignment with who we want to become. And then we don't want to take ownership and accountability for the true honesty associated with those decisions. And then we're frustrated by the outcome. If you take anything from this episode, that right there is God's honest truth. Painful to swallow and digest that. But it's true. Are you operating as somebody who's making choices behind the scenes that are not in alignment with the goals that you've set forth, with the person that you want to become, with the life that you desire? The boring work is where confidence is forged. Mastering the mundane, guys. Any relationship is not all rainbows and butterflies and vacations and the rocky 90-second highlight reel. It's consistently doing the boring things, making your bed, brushing your teeth, getting sunlight, doing the next right thing, treating people appropriately. It's not sexy, but what's sexy is when those boring things have compounding interest and you get to your goal faster than you thought you would. And you're like, well, that really wasn't that bad. I could repeat that in a different arena. How cool is that? The people who win are not the loudest. They're the ones who show up again. That's mastering the mundane. It's showing up again when you least want to. It's consistently knowing who you are and not going external, but going internal. And when you do that consistent work of a journaling practice, meditation, having your true character be sharpened by your choices and your ideas and the things that you're in pursuit of coming to fruition in the public eye the same way they are in the private eye, that's where the magic truly happens, guys. Your environment is either training you or draining you. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are the people that you're around just yes men and yes women? Are they having the hard conversations with you? Are they being real with you? Are they getting heavy, deep, and real? Or is it just kind of surface level? Is it like the work bitching friend where like you get together and every time it's just like a complaining fest, right? Misery loves company, and like, yeah, you can hold space for that. Hey, for 5-10 minutes, we're gonna get off our chest. We're gonna have a little vent session. We'll go back and forth. But then after about 15 minutes, let's reset, recalibrate the conversation. Let's talk about solutions associated with some of those grievances. Are they in our control? Or are they out of our control? Are the people within your circle having those conversations? Are they talking about ideas and dreams and visions and executions within the stock market, within investment, with vacations, with their habits, with wanting to introduce you to other people within their circle because they think that there would be alignment and growth and a real life LinkedIn associated with that, where there could be opportunities that unlock based on special human connection? Or are you just talking about people? Design beats willpower every single time. So if you don't design your environment, it's quietly going to design you. The people that you're around, there is something that's unique to this human experience in the sense of we believe in Wi-Fi, right? Like we can't see it, but we believe in it. And now Starlink is coming to the table, and it's everywhere. There's internet everywhere now. But people kind of have their own Wi-Fi. So that environment that you're in, there's a frequency. Are people overly pessimistic? Are they toxically positive? Are they overly realistic? What's the nature that's going to help you grow? I think there's a huge benefit to being positive in the midst of not having things to be positive about. But then having the right amount of seasoning of realism so as to not just be thinking in the clouds. I don't really see a return on investment for negativity because life's not happening to you. It's happening for you. And all too often now, I think we all, myself included, fall into the victim mentality. Oh, poor me, these circumstances are taking place. Like, why me? Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will. Well, I think the better question is what is this teaching me? Who am I supposed to become that I have not acquired this skill or this habit or this thought-provoking strategy yet? So it's limiting my capacity as a human. Inputs become beliefs over time. And I think Tony Robbins was talking about this. I was listening to him on a podcast recently, and it's not so much around our beliefs. It's upon our repeated beliefs. What are the consistent stories that we tell ourselves? And when you're thinking of neuroplastic, like formation of the brain, we are all a bundle of stories, so both good, bad, and everything in between. But what are the stories that we repeat in our head? I think those repeated stories get ingrained into our DNA, into our cells, and it becomes part of our value system and what we truly associate with in the world. But question them. Are they true? Are they things that are either upgrading our world or downgrading our world? And as most cognizant psychological experts will say, the things that are holding us back are the stories that we tell ourselves. Are your stories helping you or hurting you? Health is not the goal. It is the foundation. Because you do not rise to your dreams, you fall to the level of your health. I could not agree more with this one. You can't think clearly in a depleted body, which is where we started this conversation. I've had to take ownership and responsibility for that. And success without health becomes a burden. You might make all of the money in the world, but if your health ends up being the limitation, you have that one single problem to attack as opposed to the hundreds of problems of your business or of your goals or of life in general. And so burnout is often a health issue wearing a productivity mask. That's what I'm dealing with right now. Burnout is often a health issue wearing a productivity mask. Where can you slow down? Where can you practice the art of minimal viable dose? And where can you recognize that everything is simply a season? Right? When you look at spring, all the plants are growing, the birds are chirping, it's vibrant, the sun's starting to pop out again. But it's not spring year-round. It's not summer year-round. You've got to go through the loss season of the fall. You've got to go through the hibernation season of the winter. And I think we as human beings have our own version of those seasons. We see it when we're looking at data trackers like Whoop, like Oura Ring, like the Garmin, and now like Kalo. Kalo is now one of our official ALLSMITH sponsors, and they're coming out with some smart technology that is going to help give us a peek behind the curtain, especially with women as they're going through our menstrual cycles, their menstrual cycles rather. And the thing that's fascinating to me is when you look at most health and wellness research, they treat women like small men, but they're going through a menstrual cycle that has a luteal phase, that has different phases within their human experience where they might need more activity, more rest, more food. And I think being honest and having those conversations helps us realize that men probably go through a version of that too. It's just in a different way. They obviously don't bleed, but there's going to be a season as to everything that we're going through. And the point of me sharing this bit right here is that health is not just showing up to the gym. It's not just what you eat. It's not just your sleep. It's also that true ability to listen. What is the body communicating to you? What are the whispers? Do you need more sunlight? Do you need more community? Do you need more social connection? Where are you in your cycle? Who's in your environment that could be impacting that cycle. Listen to that. Pay attention to that. And that takes a deepening of your relationship with yourself to listen to those whispers, communicate those things to your coaches, to the people that are there to support you within your life. And that way you're not just all gas, no brakes all the time like I was. And so I share this vulnerably. I want to give you the advice that I wish I would have listened to sooner. And now I'm on a process of undoing a lot of those things, which is its own learning curve. And if that's you, you learn a lot from realizing not just what to know, but what you don't know or what you don't want. And so I've come to realize that, like, oh man, I wanted all these things. I want the drive. I want the capacity. I want to keep going. I just want to do more. And now I'm realizing, okay, I want to do less. If that's you, note to self, notice, where can we make those subtle adjustments to take the scissors, trim the fat, and kind of get back to a level of minimalism. I think that's good. I have 5 more, but I want to chop it up there. We'll save the next 5 for another podcast episode. And I appreciate you guys sitting, listening to this. I think it's something that is more important than we realize. And that's being honest with the things that are coming up in our lives. Not just talking about pop culture, not just doing the next thing that's all exciting and going to make us money, but exploring what's going on in our lives. And then having true, honest communication around what's working and what's not working. So this is just me sharing some of the things that have worked for me, some of the things that resonated from a lot of the conversations that we've had here on the ALLSMITH podcast. And I hope these things align with you and that there's at least 2 or 3 nuggets that you can integrate into your life. And like I said, integrate into your life. Don't just know these things. Practice them. Put them into your daily habit schedule and see how they help. Maybe they don't help. And if they don't, I want to hear about that too. I want to hear your personal experiences. We want to connect with you and we want to know what things are helping you pursue peak expression, helping you inch closer to the life that you want to live. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to ALLSMITH today. A little peek behind the curtain of how I've navigated the pursuit of rest, but deconstructed my challenges with toxic positivity. And hopefully some of these things land and can make the rest of your life the best of your life. If you enjoyed my conversation today, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time.